Hey guys, Equinox here. This is going to be the damage guide. I posted about this on Twitter, and basically I'm just going to go over this to show you how I min-max damage, how I thought process through a dungeon, how I pull around my cooldowns, and kind of explain how everything goes here. So I made this little route just to visualize an example, and this is pretty much the route I run in push keys right now, and I will explain to you how I use my cooldowns in this dungeon, and it kind of applies to literally every single dungeon. So, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to 2-minute this pull, and by 2 minutes I mean statue plus weapons of order. That's what I'm always going to be referring to at 2 minutes, and my 1 minutes will be exploding keg. So that'll be the breakdown of how my cooldowns are explained. So this first pull will use 2 minutes, and on fort this will last another minute. So this will be, you're going to use your 2 minutes on pull, then you're going to use your exploding keg again off cooldown just to max it. And the way you pull this on bolstering, just for clarity, is you pull everything but G19. You do all of this together. Then once these first 3 skitterflies are dead, you pull in these. And you usually have exploding keg back when you pull in these 3 skitterflies. Now, so I'll use my 2 minutes on here, use my next set of 1 minutes on here, and then I'll use my 2 minutes on cooldown on this boss, and then I only use my 1 minutes on this boss. I only use exploding keg when the burst forth ads come out, so your CDs are a little bit different on this boss. Normally you would exploding keg with your 2 minutes every single time, but on this boss you don't. You use it separately. 1 is for aggro, 2 is for safety. So basically 2 minutes and 1 minute on this pull, 2 minutes on cooldown on this boss. If this boss is a 3-minute average for your group, you use a second set of 2s. Pretty much always you want to do a second set of 2s because you always do the Storm Sentry next. So 2 sets of 2s on this boss, then you do Storm Sentry, then you go over here to G16, you pop your 2s on this. If you're really fast, you don't have 2s, then you just pop it on G17, no big deal. So do this, one of these 2 packs, you'll have your 2 minutes, and then use your 1 minute on G18 always. And then you do boss, you use your 2 minutes twice on this boss as well. Normally on a hierarchy it's like 3:30 boss time, maybe a little bit less. If you're a lower key and it's like a 2:30 boss time, you send 1 set of 1 minute cooldown or 2 minute cooldowns. And then we move over to this pack. You always want to have 2 minutes on this pack. So if the boss is like 30% and you have your 2s, I would save it because this pack's really dangerous. If for some reason you don't have your 2 minute cooldowns, just exclude this pack and this, so you could just move it over. Let me show you. You can just move it over like that and just do this. You can do these together and then you do this together as well, and that'll kind of just split it up and make it more digestible. But yeah, 2 minutes on this, 2 minutes on this pull, 1 minute on this pull, and then if you had to split it up, then you do something like this. You 2 minute this pull, 1 minute this pull, and then you usually do these together. You 2 minute these, then you 1 minute this, and then you do boss. You send 1 set of cooldowns on Veximus. This boss is like 2:30 max usually, and then you 2 minute pull 13, and then you 1 minute pull 14, and then go boss. But yeah, that's basically, you can apply this to literally every dungeon and every pull order. Like no cood, you can break this down, no 1 to 2 minute. You'll eventually get the feel of timings of packs, how long they last, what packs will last 45 seconds, what packs will last like a minute 20. Just have a mental breakdown of where the timings are in the dungeon, how long bosses normally last, what to do when bosses go wrong. If a boss goes long, then you just use your thing on cooldown to get it killed. That's always the most important, is securing things, securing kills on things. That's the most important thing. But yeah, really breaking down your cooldowns, where they are and where they're going, is probably the most important aspect of your damage and plus. That's how you max it. That's how you're gonna see big overalls. That's how I do big overalls. The stats and gear kind of help with that, but it's mostly pulling around your cooldowns and knowing where to put your cooldowns in general to maximize your damage. Now, one thing is, even though it's less damage on AoE, like a big AoE pull, if there is a prio target, especially on Bolstering Week, I'm going to show you an example. So, except the example is kind of bad here because these mobs literally do nothing, so you don't really care. But just to show you what I'm talking about, this is a big prio mob. He has way more HP than every other mob in the group. Now on Bolstering Week, especially old Bolstering, what you would do is you would not spinning Crane Kick here, and you would mostly prio damage with the RSK and empowering Tiger Palms. Even though it's less damage on AoE, it's faster for the dungeon overall. Now, this isn't true for these mobs anymore because they, like I said, they don't do anything. But on a more important pack, so let's say Soul Harvester, these are a perfect example. These guys will kill you with Shatter Soul if you bolster them a lot, so you don't want to AoE as much, and you want to mostly focus on empowering your Tiger Palm and RSKing this. That way you don't bolster it and you time the dungeon better. It does affect your AoE a little bit, but not as much as you might think. It is going to be less overall damage, but it is better for the dungeon and faster for the dungeon, which is more important. But back to doing damage. You guys kind of understand the point I was making. Playing out your 2 minutes, playing out your route, playing out your pulls. That will be the biggest maximize for your cooldowns. Now, let's go over stats really quick, and then we'll get into the rotation. So, stats, this is, again, mix of survival and damage. This isn't for mostly damage. If you want to do max damage, way more crit, a lot of verse. That's pretty much what you're going to do for damage. And but here I have a lot less crit and more mastery and verse because it's a lot more tanky. And this is more static damage. This is kind of more RNG damage. This is really good for Celestial Fortune, but you'd rather have Mastery at the moment, unless you're playing with the Resto Druid. If you're playing with the Resto Druid, high crit is really, really good, because it procs Celestial Fortune a lot. But most of my healing is Gotox Orbs. I play with the Holy Priest, so Celestial Fortune isn't nearly as good. Anyway, stats, about 30% crit, 39 to 40% verse, and then about 30% mastery or more. I have a lot of mastery from ring, tier pieces, and then random bracers and neck. I have this neck over the crit neck because it has leech on it, so I'm going to use that. And yeah, these are basically the stats. You just want a lot of verse, good amount of crit, good amount of mastery. That's the best defense offense mix. Now let's get into rotation. So, the most important thing while you're in your rotation is keeping the mobs in your statue. Obviously on stuff like Sanguine Week, can't really help it, but you want to always move mobs in a way to where they stay in your statue for the entire duration. This adds up to an insane amount of damage throughout a dungeon. This will be about anywhere from 5 to 8% of your overall, depending on the dungeon. Some are lower, some are a lot higher. So, really, really important that you play around your statue, and then maximizing your weapons of order window, and using pretty much Bone Dust and Exploding Keg on cooldown. You obviously want to Exploding Keg with 4 stacks of weapons of order, so don't literally use that on pull, but you kind of get what I mean. And also potioning. And that's pretty simple, just potion whenever you're doing a good sized pull with your 2-minute cooldowns. And I use the potion duration increase, so I always pre-pot with Shocking Disclosure, and then pot with Ultimate Power, and that'll give you like a double potion on pull of pretty much start of every dungeon but Alcathar. You don't really use it on Alcathar. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys the rotation, then kind of explain it, and that'll be it. So I'm going to do the little demonstration, then I'll explain it after. Alright, so the most important takeaway from that was I had made sure I saved RSK for the last 1 second of Weapons of Order, and that extends it for the full duration. So you get a full reset, and you get an extra, basically extra 10 seconds on your Weapons of Order. That's really important. And basically, I expedite the first 2 stacks, so I Keg Smash, RSK, and then I Blackout Kick, Breath of Fire, and that basically gets you at 2 stacks, then you get to 3. And you saw a couple times I empowered Keg Smash instead of Breath of Fire, and that's just because of how the cooldowns line up. Sometimes your Keg Smash is farther away when you have to Blackout Kick on cooldown, and that means you just empower the Keg, and then the next Blackout Kick you empower Breath of Fire. You don't use Breath of Fire instantly on cooldown. So, on 4 targets, by the way, you're RSKing on cooldown. But on higher AoE, you only RSK to apply Weapons of Order. I think it's like 8 targets is the breakdown for when you spinning Crank Kick. Maybe 6, I don't remember. Something like that. But if there's a Prio Damage target, you RSK on cooldown anyway. But yeah, that's basically the rotation. Not too difficult. The hardest part is doing that in a big size bowl. Sorry for the train, you guys could probably hear it in the background. But yeah, the hardest part is doing that while actually fighting mobs. And the way I kind of circumvent that to expedite the opener is like, say I'm doing this pull, right, or I'm gathering, right? I'll keg smash, then Breath of Fire, and then I'll pull another pack, keg smash, Breath of Fire, and then I'll RJW, then I'll start my rotation. Now everything has Breath of Fire, has 5% less DR, and then I can get pretty much everything, and it's a little bit less hectic, a little bit less hard. But pretty much the biggest focus from this video is that you want to pull around your cooldowns, time your cooldowns, and then execute the rotation I showed you. It doesn't have to be pixel perfect, you don't have to do literally everything correctly every single time, but the general thing is you want to empower every Breath of Fire, extend your Weapons of Order, and Exploding Keg at 4 stacks. You want to Bone Dust Brew around 3 stacks, so you have like your Bone Dust Brew and all your like initial 4 stack bursts, and then you get it on cooldown as soon as possible. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys learned from the video. I will be streaming earlier or later today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you want me to clarify anything, just ask in the comments below. And yeah, have a good one, guys. Peace out.